What's going on, guys? Teen Mechanic here, and you're gonna have to excuse that dog, but yep, it's finally the day, and like seriously, I'm not gonna waste any time. I cannot stress exactly how much of a relief this is. Yes, I'm sitting here in the front of the house. The engine, yeah, that was all a bunch of boring crap that you didn't want to watch. But the engine is here. It's sitting on a tire. Now, the engine bay is mostly, I think it's pretty much ready to accept it. There's just a couple little loose ends I got to tie up. I've got a friend helping me today because, I can pull it out myself, but that's one thing. Putting it back in and getting it, having someone spot it, like that's a whole separate thing. But you can see, like the engine mounts, these are shot, but I'm just going to have to leave it like that. And, honestly, the transmission looks like it's way too far forward. Like, you tell me. That looks like it's way too far forward. It's as far back as it can go, though. It's off of the bolt mark, so, this thing should fit, quite frankly. But anyway, I'm done wasting time. Let's just try to drop this in as fast as we can. All right, guys. I've got the engine, I've got the bay. I'm gonna move that, and we're ready. Just honestly, here comes a time lapse. Alright guys, I forgot, we gotta take this hood off here if we want to have a chance of getting this thing in. Boom, no more hood. Alright, so it's now the next day. Now it's about midday, and I've been up since 9:30, but I've been trying to work up the gumption to do it. But now we actually have some light, so I can see where the transmission mounts in there and everything like that. I'm going to worry about the exhaust part later, because that's way too much work. The exhaust is hanging down, and I know I can hook it back up later. Now, I have it sitting on a block here, and I think, really, this hopefully should go pretty well. Now, the one thing that I'm a little bit leery of, these straps here. Now, I don't have one of those engine leveling, whatchamacallit. You know what I'm talking about. When you put an engine in, you can screw it into intake bolt. Anyway, so you can level an engine out and have chains hooked up to the top. It's much easier, but in my case, I only have straps. So I could either hook it up to the manifolds, or I could just try to find a way to work around them. Maybe you can see right here is an engine mount bolt, and also right here. And those have to line up with these two down there. You can't really see them. And I'm sorry about the lawnmower. You're going to have to bear with me there. But anyway, yeah, so I think I'm just going to try my best. Get it in there. We'll see. Honestly, I'm eager to see. And I don't... Oh, that's for the crank sensor. Okay. All right. Let's get this underway. Now, it may also be worth mentioning that, unfortunately, I don't have anyone helping me out today, so it's just going to be me, and I'm going to have to just do my best to get this in place. I'm really hoping this works out, but I think it should. I think what I'm going to do is just lower it onto the mounts with the straps and just cut the straps off. I just really have to get it in the right place, though, is all. Anyway, let's give it a shot. Now, I actually want to give you guys a little bit of, some insight here, what I'm actually doing before I just go and drop it right in there. So, if you can kind of see back here, now it's hard to see, but right there, all those teeth there on that gear, that's the flex plate, and it has to now if you can kind of see that thing sticking out in the center of your screen right there, that kind of nub. And then if you look over here, there's threads, and that whole thing, that whole assembly with that nub, and then those threads right down there, that is the torque converter, the green thing that you saw when there was no engine. You could see it a lot easier. Those threads, there's 4, one there, one exactly at the bottom, and one on either side. Those have to line up exactly with the flex plate there, because there are 4 corresponding holes in the flex plate. Now, that's going to be the hardest part, lining that up. Now, my dilemma here with the straps is, if you can see here, these straps, incredibly high tension. Now, actually, these are high enough tension to the point where I'm actually curious if these will even seat properly. But this plate here, which you couldn't see in the dark last night, this is the engine mount. Well, this is the mount, this is the bracket. Now, these 2 holes have to line up with this mounting surface as well as that one. Now, that's kind of difficult to do, but that's because these straps are in the way. Now, I'm going to just do it without the engine leveler. Like I said, I don't have one, and I don't have $60 to go spend on one. Like, you know, $60 for safety? Come on, that's ridiculous. Anyway, I should be okay. I don't see any other major obstacles. I bent this transmission dipstick tube or puller when I was jacking up the transmission, but nothing I can do about that. Actually, there's the other set of threads right there on the, you can't really see it, but yeah, right there. So that's the other set of them. Anyway, I think this should go in. This jack handle is also in the way, so I'm going to have to jack up the transmission just a little bit more and then take the handle out, which is going to be kind of dangerous, but I have to do it. So anyway, let's carry on. Now, it's absolutely worth mentioning that this is a very tedious process. Little by little by little, you have to be very slow, very careful when you're putting an engine in. If you snag something, or if you drop it, or if anything snaps, that would suck. You also don't want to crush your freshly painted oil pan. That would really also suck. So anyway, well, actually for the second time, that oil pan was already crushed. Anyway, anyway, so just worth mentioning, very slow, little by little, lower it little bits at a time. Okay, so I want to loop you in again. So what I've done is I've got the bottle jack supporting the bottom of the transmission, and the jack, I jacked up the oil pan just a tad so that I could get it to fit into the transmission. Now, it's just resting against the bow housing, but check this out. We are just about lined up to the block and spacer plate there. This is really coming along here. Now, we're still not quite on the mounts, as you can see, but we're so close that it's just like, it's gonna happen here any second. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the final drop in here. I'm gonna get it in place here, probably the next time I twist that. So, man, yeah, you know what? We're golden here. This is really excellent. Yeah, and you're wondering why I didn't put the intake in ahead of time. Look at this. I have super easy access to the transmission bolts. Like, super easy, just fit it right on there. I didn't clean the transmission because I was just so fed up with it, but yeah, anyway, we're just about ready to get this thing completely in, so let's do that. Now, actually, one of the more difficult things is that, you know, with like a newer Ford, or like with a newer any car, Fords especially, because they have a dust plug right in the bottom of the transmission. But in this case, I'm gonna have to align the torque converter with the holes on the flex plate before I actually set the block in place, because it would be pushing really hard on those studs if I didn't. So I gotta line up the torque converter and flex plate right now, then I can drop it in, and then we're done. Alright, I figured I'd bring you underneath the car here. I'm holding this exhaust pipe up with my knee. Now you can see over here, right here is the flex plate, this whole thing with teeth on it, and this is the bell housing of the transmission. We are so freaking close to being ready to put these bolts in. Now, here's the issue. The torque converter is not lined up with the flex plate. Now, see those threads? If you look exactly in the center of your screen, behind the flex plate, there's threads. Those have to line up with that hole exactly in the center of your screen. Not the one you can see them through, but the one that has that kind of, looks like a bolt has been screwed in it before. That is exactly where it needs to line up. Now, this is very hard because the car isn't jacked up despite there being 2 jacks under here. And this thing, I'm hoping it just doesn't roll, but this engine sure compresses the suspension a lot. So, all right, now guys, bear with me, okay? This is probably gonna suck for a camera angle. But these threads right here are the ones I'm talking about. Right there. So what I have to do is that. Pretty much that exactly, actually. Alright guys, this is the moment of truth. I gotta try and rock the engine kind of like that way, which is backwards and to the driver's side just a little tiny bit. But I don't know. I'm gonna jack up the engine first. Okay, so this is kind of the moment of truth here. I'm gonna try to get it in. It's not quite exactly there, but I don't know. I'm gonna do my best here. Okay, so those holes are all lined up. Let's jack it up just a little. Well, actually, I'm gonna lift it. Guys, we did it. Okay, it's all lined up. All those studs are now through and in. And now what I'm gonna do is take the bottle jack out from under the transmission, lower the engine down, push it in. It'll be in by then, so let's do that right now. Okay, I can't believe I didn't catch that on camera. All I did was lower the jack. It pinched my hand a little bit, but I lowered it, and now we're completely seated against the torque converter and everything. So now, you know what it's time for? It's time to take a transmission bolt and see if it threads. Now, if it does, that's incredible. And if it doesn't, you gotta excuse my hair. If it doesn't, that's a huge freaking pain. Like, and I mean like a ridiculously huge ridiculous freaking pain. Now, if it threads, I will be like beside myself in a good way. I will be elated. I will be just ecstatic. Let's see, guys. You and I, moment of truth. Of course, it has to focus. Let's see, guys. Guys, guess what? It threads. It threads. Oh my God. It threads. Okay. So, you know what? I'm going to put a couple of transmission bolts into it. I'm going to put those right there, those torque converter nuts, on those studs I showed you. Then we're going to lower this and bolt it in. Alright, so I noticed at the very bottom of the transmission bell housing and the block, one of the torque converter studs isn't showing. So I have to lower this more, and I wanted to get that on camera. And so far, the 2 bolts I put in have both threaded flawlessly. So I'm hoping that's the case with all of them. Let's go ahead and lower this into place. On those straps there, so I'm going to see if that stud lined up. If it did, we're golden. If it didn't, well, we'll see. Okay, so it's now actually several hours later, and it's looking kind of like Nova Scotia right now. But anyway, it turns out that bolt, it didn't quite line up, so I dropped the engine. As you can see, the hoist is moved. What I did, I haven't actually done all that much without you. Those, the engine mounts is what I did, and those were really hard. By the way, the torque converter is completely and totally bolted up to the engine. So now, the engine is at least mostly connected to the transmission. It's just not connected with actual bell housing bolts. But it's connected to the torque converter, and it's now bolted down to the frame. So, now, bolted down to the frame, that right there was very difficult. Those engine mount holes did not line up at all, as I suspected they wouldn't. Now, rather than, you know, if your chair is too far away from the table, you don't get up and move the table, you move the chair. Now, what I did is I unbolted the engine mounts about, like, just a little bit, and then I tapped them into place, and I adjusted the mounts rather than moving the whole engine. Now, actually, if you look down here, I also got the drive shaft. That's not the drive shaft. Drive shaft is up there. got it hooked in, and I matched it up so the splines are in the right place so that it'll bolt right up to the flange on the differential. So, I mean, it's in. Honestly, it's in. So what I'm going to do now, finish bolting down the engine mounts, tighten them up so that it's in place. Now, it's only mounted up with 3 out of the 4 block bolts because one of them snapped. And also, I think it's 5 out of the 6 engine mount bolts because one of them was just complete, like the threads were mashed. So this thing might shake a little, but hey, I'm sending it down the road like that. The other thing is that transmission was sagging and hanging and in really bad shape for a while there. I mean, you can see all the fluid it leaked. The transmission mount might be bad now, or no, it's bad, but it might, you know, when you go to put it in gear, it might go and it, you know, like boom or bang or slam or shutter, like who knows. You know what a bad transmission mount feels like. It might, you know, do that. You might jolt a little, and I think that's probably what'll happen. But I don't care. This is really awesome. I've got all this stuff. You know, the hardest part is going to be remembering where all those little brackets and braces go on the front of this motor. Luckily, I took lots of videos and pictures, you know, because, you know, that's one of the good things about YouTube is you get to record everything, so you know where it all goes. Anyway, I'm going to bolt these mounts down. As you can see, I took the oil filter off. That was way in the way. Now, I'm going to... Like I said, I'm going to finish it. All those rockers have to be readjusted, by the way. That video where I said 0 lash 500,000 times, yeah, so now all the lifters are, you know, spongy, bled out, so yeah. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking. That's too much talking, and I'll catch you guys in just a sec. Guess what? It's bolted in. It's bolted to the frame. It's bolted to the torque converter. The only bolting left to do is to bolt it to the bell housing. Now, that is easier done than said, actually, because look at this. We have all the bolts right there ready to be torqued in, actually, except for that one down there. That one's a little difficult to get to. Unfortunately, I can't have this thing running today. I will have it running in the next video. This video, hopefully we can have it all, well, pretty much in. I don't want to have to do too much work next video, you know, actually putting it back together. But in this video, I'm hoping that we have it back together. Now, I have to figure out this. I know is a ground. I don't know. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I can do it. Now, the thing is, the reason I can't have this thing running today is because, well, I might be able to have it running tomorrow, but today, actually I have to have it running tomorrow. Today, though, you need a harmonic balancer installer kit to get a balancer on, or, I mean, yes, there are other tools you can do. You can use a bolt and a socket, but I'm not doing that. I don't have one that threads in there properly. So, I am going to just go get the damn kit. I'm going to rent it. And then I'm thinking that should probably get it to completion. That's the only special tool I can think of that I need. Now, and look at this. I did this with ratchet straps that I tied together. And listen, everyone, I don't know what I look like right now. My hair's probably ridiculous. But it's absolutely worth mentioning. And bear in mind that I'm 15 years old, okay? I'm 15, and I have 3 cars. Recently, I had four cars. And, well, that's because my dad is the most patient dad in the world, letting his son fill up his property full with, you know, tons of cars. But this here, I mean, yeah, sure, you could say I'm super talented, but really it's just turning a bunch of nuts and bolts. And, you know, I know that I'm pretty good at what I do, and I know that I am. But if I'm 15 years old, and I have no special tools at all, I've been doing this for probably, what, 7 or 8 years, and I'm using ratchet straps that I tied together. I mean, anybody can do this. That right there should tell you that anybody can do it. So someone who brings their car or their Honda Civic to a shop, and, you know, if they have no interest, that's one thing. But they can still do it. It's about having the interest. But if you want to work on cars, and you think, oh, no, I could never rebuild an engine. I could never pull an engine. Yes, you could, because you have an interest in it. You have a will to do it. I'm 15. I can do it. You can do it, too. So that's my little motivational rant for the day. But yeah, so I mean, everything is back where it needs to be. Fuel lines and everything are back in the right place. Transmission cooler lines are pretty bent, but you know what, that's okay. You know what, I think we are pretty much ready to start. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna bolt the transmission on, and then we're gonna be putting this thing back together, which is crazy to me. So let's do that now. Okay, so right now it's 6:26 p.m. in the evening, and I'm not sure why it's so cloudy, but I mean, I don't know, it seems a little bit later and rainier than it is, but anyway, this time yesterday, I decided to start putting this engine in. Spur of the moment, I called my friend over and I said, hey, you know what, are you able to come help me put this engine in? Of course, he said yes, and that was it. I mean, we we got this far. Yesterday, I got everything mounted and jacked and, I mean, bolted up, and then today, I got it in. So transmission is mounted up, brackets are in place, engine is mounted to the block and to the torque converter. Everything is mounted. One issue so far that I have come across is that this exhaust on this side, like I said, I mean, these are true duals. So this pipe on this side can't fit around the frame that mounts the control arm, and it can't fit around the starter area of the bell housing. So I'm going to either have to crimp the exhaust together to fit it up there, or I'm going to have to take it off of the muffler, which is going to be really hard, pull it off, snake it up there, and then put it back on the muffler. That's probably what I'll do if I can, but I guarantee that thing is not just going to separate. So anyway, now that it's in, I went into the interior here. Recognize this place. I have the keys right here, and what I did, I turned it into the run position, which doesn't really matter right now. Put my foot on the brake, and the gears are like butter. Park, reverse, neutral, drive, 3 and 1. All of them work perfectly, and that is a really good feeling. When you install a transmission, I mean, I was worried about that, actually. I was thinking, well, I was pretty sure that I bent that blue bracket right there in the center of your screen. Turns out I didn't. So anyway, and you're gonna have to excuse that sprinkler noise, but the engine is in, and I think it's time to cut these off, because I'm sure as hell not moving this engine again. So I'm gonna cut these off, I'm gonna snake them out, and then we're gonna start putting this thing back together, which is so amazing. Now, another thing I noticed here, this is for the AC compressor and goes to the condenser on that side. It's missing an O-ring, so I'm gonna have to get one. It's also rusty. This thing, I don't know. Honestly, the AC didn't work anyway, so it's probably got tons of leaks in it. I'm going to put the AC system back together exactly the way it was, but I'm not going to recharge it. That'll be for the next person to do. Yes, I am selling this thing. If I get this thing put back together, running beautifully, obviously it says it has 43,000. What I'm going to end up saying is that I'm pretty sure it's been rolled over, so I'm pretty sure it has 143. Obviously, I'm going to tell them all the work I've done. They can come watch these videos if they want. And, yeah, you know, that's what's going to happen. But if I don't get what I want for it, if I don't get exactly the price I want, I'm going to sell it. Now, I'm going to list it for, I think, $4,000. I think that's the number I want to list it for, which is pretty crazy to most people. It's inconceivable to some of the people I've talked to. But I actually think that $4,000 is right about, you know, right about there, right in that area that I want to list it for. Obviously, I'll be negotiable, not one of those guys that says firm, firm, firm. That kind of bothers me, actually. But, I don't know. My goal, $3,500, I'd be ecstatic. That would be fantastic. 3250 is probably, I wouldn't go any lower than probably about 2750. And that's like if I had it listed for a month. But so 2750, if I don't get that, I'm not selling it. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys really want me to keep this thing bad enough, which I doubt, but if you really do want me to keep it bad enough, we'll see what happens. But I sure love that Cadillac I just bought. Anyway, now I'm going way off the rails. So let's get this back together. Alright, I found these tin snips. let's just try and give these a shot here. Alright, let's see if I can snake these out or if I have to cut the other side off. Okay, so as you can see, this here is a beautiful, nice, and clean engine. Well, clean is, you know, reaching, but, you know, I don't know. I'm really actually thrilled with it. Wait till this thing is put together with the intake, which is actually pretty much what we're going to do right now. I'm going to put the intake on there first, I think, and then we're going to start connecting all the little things and little hoses. Then we're going to start with the accessories, which are down there. And then, I mean, I have to get the installer there, but the radiator will probably go in as one of the last things because, you know, before the fan and everything, but because I think that, you know, I mean, that was in the way when I went to get at that crank bolt. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get this intake all installed. I'm going to clean off my hands, which I actually just cleaned, so they're not too bad, but I still don't want to mess up the paintwork. So let's get started. There you go. It's in. That looks so freaking awesome. Okay, I got those all tightened down. Now what I'm going to do is adjust the valve lash again. I'm going to have to turn the engine, get it back to top dead center. Yeah, so I mean, now I guess once the valve lash is adjusted, I can get the valve covers on, and then the engine is like I don't know, that's all. No, I don't want to say the majority, but like the front of it, there's not much on the front to do. So yeah, you know, the part I'm worried about is the vacuum lines. But anyway, I'm gonna adjust the valve lash. You don't need to see me do that again, that's for sure, so let me do that now. Okay, I got the new valve cover gasket hooked into the valve cover itself, so let's get it on the head. So, it's getting dark, actually. It looks a lot lighter than it actually is, but no, it's getting dark. It's about 9 o'clock at night now, and I'm pissing off all the neighbors, so I am going to come back at this bright and early tomorrow, and tomorrow I have to have it running, because it rains on Sunday, and I have to have this thing running. Now, when this thing starts, it's going to be very loud, and you know why, because it's got open headers. I haven't bolted the exhaust up yet, and I don't know if I will. Either way, even if I do bolt up the exhaust to the manifold, it's still gonna sound like crap because it's gonna be like a because it's gonna have an exhaust leak because the two of the exhaust studs snapped off when I was taking it apart. So obviously that is gonna be annoying to I don't know, figure out how I'm gonna fix that. But the engine is in now. And, yeah, I'm really thrilled with that. So I'm going to pack it in, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, here we are, next day, back at it again. You know, this video is very long so far. I did some of the editing already, and holy cow. So anyway, you can see I actually failed to, I noticed there are 2 transmission bolts I still have to put in. Honestly, I'm really just thinking I'm going to time-lapse the rest of this, of putting this engine back together. If there's any key parts, I'll let you know. I lost one of the valve cover bolts. I have absolutely no idea where it went. Just no clue. I didn't even see it. And it would it's supposed to go right back there, and I might just leave it out because I do need this thing to run today. But I think what I'm gonna do, I'm not really gonna show you much. I'm gonna take this hood back off here. I just put it on because it was supposed to rain. It didn't end up raining, but anyway, I'm going to bolt the rest of the drive shaft in. It's kind of hung up with one bolt, and I'm going to bolt the transmission completely back to the mount. I'm gonna put those 2 transmission bolts in, and then I'm going to, oh yeah, and it's worth mentioning, I rented a balancer installer, and I just really hope it fits. I hope it's the right size. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna start hooking things back up, electrical connectors and all that stuff. I already have one connected here to, I think that's a metal temperature sensor. Already hooked up. The oxygen sensor's already hooked up down there. Yes, this thing has an oxygen sensor. And I mean, there's just some extra loose ends to tie up. And honestly, this thing is really coming along. Now, also, I've got these two here. I'm not exactly sure how this was all routed. At least it's not a modern car, and you can kind of just dangle it wherever you want. But anyway, I'm done talking, so let's get this back together. Okay, we are coming in on the home stretch here. We are nearly done. I gotta tighten this before I forget. I don't want coolant to come spewing out of there, but anyway, I mean, honestly, it's in. Transmission is bolted to the engine. Transmission's bolted to the mounts. Engine's bolted to the mounts. Drive shaft is in the transmission, bolted to the differential flange. We are ready. I have to tighten down the valve cover bolts, fill this thing with oil before I forget, because I know it's in my nature to just start it dry because I forgot. That would suck. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to install the balancer. Then I am going to put the water pump on, and I know there's a couple extra little things on here that I'm forgetting. There's this one little timing marker for the crank, and I'm not sure where it sits. I have to remember. So anyway, none of this really matters. If there's anything, you know, that's noteworthy, I'll let you guys know, but I'm going to time-lapse this because this video is just too long. Besides, these engines are pretty easy to work on, so I don't think there's really any sort of tutorial needed. But let's just get going. Okay, now before I go ahead and put this balancer on, what I want to do is, well, first I have to take the crank bolt off. Then I have this balancer installer kit. I don't know if it's actually going to fit or not because the bolts are really long. And then I mean, I'm going to get this thing to top dead center first. And that shouldn't be too difficult, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I want to show you this puller, or this installer kit. It comes with this. I don't even know how to use this thing. I really don't know how, so I'm going to figure it out as I go. It comes with whatever the heck that thing is, whatever that does. It comes with all of these different long attachments, and I am 99% sure these are going to be too long. But, and it's got some places where there's no thread, or where thread changes. I really don't know. Then you've got this. I mean, you've just got all the different sizes here for different engines. And I'm really hoping I can find the right one. So I'm just gonna figure this out here, and I'll record it when I do. Okay, so that kit will not work at all, will not even work in the slightest. So I'm gonna have to try a different method, you'll see. So basically what I'm gonna do is, I have this, this balancer. I'm gonna fit it onto the crankshaft, and I'm gonna put this bolt through it and see if I can just thread it on. If I'm super lucky, this might work. I have to lubricate that with silicone so that it'll fit in between the front main seal. Also, I'm using white grease. You shouldn't use this. You should use regular grease. Always, always lubricate the threads of the bolt, even if it's a installer kit, because that's how you avoid stripping the threads. I mean, it's just so much better for it. So, the seal is folded, and that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. There's absolutely nothing I can really do. Now that it's on this far, I can't get it back off. So what I'm going to have to do is get some kind of pick and risk scoring the surface just to unfold that seal, because I can't have that folded. Okay, so I got it on. Seal's still pinched, and now the engine won't spin, which is a little bit of an issue. So I don't know what's happening here. It's on properly, everything's good, but if I put the socket on the crank bolt and really reef on it, it's just not spinning anywhere. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to see what I can do here. What I'm gonna do now is put the distributor in, and that's actually what I'd like to do now. But in order to do that, I need the engine at top dead center on a compression stroke. So anyway, I mean, I'm gonna have to figure out what to do about this. But I'll sort it out. Hopefully we can get this figured out. Alright, so we are at top dead center on a compression stroke. I took the valve cover off to make sure. I checked both the push rods. we are at top dead center, as you can see. Now what I'm going to do is, you know, and I don't know if this is really the order I should be doing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put the distributor in. Now, it's an interesting way. People have said to me that it's actually quite a difficult process to put the distributor in. That's not true at all, actually. If you get it at top dead center and you align the rotor button so that it's just before cylinder 1, you slide it down onto the spline that's on the camshaft, it should automatically fit right into 1 right when it should be firing. Yes, and then you adjust it. You make little adjustments a little bit later. But for now, all I'm going to do is just drop it in and get it right around where it should be. Then we'll make all of the fine-tuning adjustments later. But for now, I tighten this down just so I don't forget. And you know what? This is really shaping up. This is really starting to look very, very good. I brought all of the accessories to the front: AC compressor, power steering, pump, fan. We've got everything here. And there's the distributor. So let's go ahead and get that in right now. All right, so here's the distributor. This is kind of how it fits in. This actually spins on the camshaft, and that allows this little rotor button to spin around, and that's what strikes the little plates and creates the spark. Now, basically, you just have to align it in here like this. I'll go into detail, but you fit it right into that slot, and you'll have to just watch me do it. But it's a relatively simple process. This one was stuck in the block, but it's not all that difficult to put it back in. So first I'm going to go ahead and slide this over and put the new O-ring on it, which is actually a very simple thing to do. You just slide it right down to this groove. Always lubricate it, preferably with silicone lubricant, but I'm going to just use white grease. You should never use white grease, but I'm going to do it anyway because I can't find my silicone lubricant, and it should be fine, quite frankly. So I went ahead and put the distributor cap on it just to show you here. Now, if you look here, take this top part off, you can see there's the rotor button, and if you look right here, if you put this back on, it only goes on one way, you have a 1 printed right there. That is for cylinder 1. Now you just want to make sure that the rotor button is pointed just before the 1, before you put this in. Okay, now you're going to have to excuse any background noise, but I got the distributor in, and I'm sorry I didn't get it all on camera. The neighbor came by, my camera overheated, just many different unfortunate events. All I did was put the 2 caps back on, and I got the rotor aligned. It takes a little finagling, and you can still adjust this if you loosen this bolt here, and you can twist it and adjust it later when it's running, which I'm going to do. Now I'm going to put the carburetor back on and bolt a couple little miscellaneous things back on here. I'm going to bolt this valve cover down, put the water pump on. I'm going to put some oil in it before I forget. And we're really coming in on the home stretch, like I said, so let's get this over with. Okay, so a little update here. I have everything back together. I go to put some oil in it, and of course it starts. I noticed this wet puddle underneath, and there's not much I can do about that. It doesn't seem to be dripping really fast or at all, but then I notice this, and at least it's leaking from the drain bolt, and I can just go get a crush washer, but that's because the pan was crushed. So I'm gonna get a washer, create a nice mating surface for it, and go get another crush washer. But for now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this water pump on. I've been really dying to do that because I think it's gonna look really good. Forgot to put the gasket on. Okay, so skipping a little bit further ahead here, I have the water pump on and the 2 heater core hoses on. This sensor is coming apart, unfortunately. Nothing I can do about that, so I've just jammed it in place. Distributor's in. I've got a couple of vacuum lines hooked up, but nothing significant still. Still quite a ways to go. Now I have to start finding places for all of these brackets. Power steering bracket, I'm missing a couple of bolts from that. Like you look at these brackets, I don't even know where all these weird shaped ones go. Like where the heck does this one go? No idea. So anyway, I'm gonna have to figure all of this out right now. Probably off camera is better. Okay, so it's now about 5:30, and I've skipped ahead just a little bit here. I'm finally figuring out where some of these brackets go. I got that timing mark thing that I was talking about on. I found the spot for it, and this here bracket is on. The AC bracket is on. Now there's really, I figured out where this goes. This goes right over top of the air conditioning compressor when it's on, and yeah, I mean, honestly, we're getting real close to victory here. A couple things that I'm a little leery of is the power steering pump. I hope I can get that back on properly because of all the bracketry, and I think actually that was about it. There isn't much left to do, and the smog pump, actually, I got to put that on before I finish putting this on. But yeah, I figured I'd just record, and I'm going to do the rest here in a time lapse. Look at how much stuff is on the front of that engine. That's absolutely crazy. Like, here's the block, and then you have like an extra foot of stuff on the front of it. So that's pretty crazy to me. That's interesting. Anyway, I probably should have put the lower radiator hose on first, which I'm actually going to put it on before I go any further with this power steering pump. I have to take it back off anyway because the transcooler line is stuck in there. But anyway, this thing is really shaping together. Should have it done hopefully by the end of tonight, and then tomorrow there will be a video on starting it. Alright, so not sure how I look. I probably look tired and full of, well, dirt and grease, but just check this out. This is looking like a spaghetti mess again, just like it's supposed to, because it's the 80s, with tons of emissions stuff and vacuum lines absolutely everywhere. But yeah, I have pretty much all of the bracketry on, I think. This coil still needs to be completely bolted down, but I mean, honestly, this was kind of like just a weird puzzle. The most annoying piece, well, not the most annoying, but I noticed back there, if you can see, that kind of tube right in the center of your screen. That is a plastic sleeve that goes over the bolt for the smog pump, and that is the bolt for the smog pump. You'll see it's on top of... Okay, you'll see it's on top of this bracket here for the idler roller, and that's actually quite annoying because I had to pull it all the way back out and put it through the roller. But you know what? That's fine. Honestly, we don't have much left. The fan assembly, the alternator, this vacuum mess, but I know where it goes, and that AC compressor, and then we're pretty much done, and the carburetor, and the upper radiator hose. But really, that's it. I mean, if you look down here, still pouring oil everywhere. I'm gonna save it. Yes, I'm gonna put it back in the motor. Honestly, I'm not wasting oil, a full jug of oil, because of that. So now there's a couple issues so far, or no, actually just one that I really know of at the moment. Actually, no, it just resolved itself. So anyway, yeah, not much left to do here. I think what I'm gonna do is drop the radiator in right now, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's it. I'm gonna drop the radiator in. I'm gonna put these spark plug wires on the car. I mean, honestly, guys, we're pretty much done putting this engine in, which is absolutely insane to me. I did it in, well, this is about 2 full days, 2.25 full days of work. 2 full days and a quarter day. And honestly, this is, yeah, I'm happy with it. Now, one of the things that I was a little bit worried about was that when I had this put all back together and running beautifully, which I'm not sure if it does yet, obviously, but hopefully it does, that I would fall in love with it again and want to keep it. And that's kind of, you know, I'm on track for that. But you know what, I'm still gonna sell it, and as long as I get the right price. If I don't get the right price, I'm keeping it, like I said. And it needs a new headlight there, but yeah, just a couple little nickel and dime things. I hope it doesn't nickel and dime me until I'm done and destitute. But anyway, I'm talking really slow now because I'm really tired. So let's get this all buttoned up. I'm gonna put the radiator in. I'll time lapse that, and then it's too late now to start it, but we will make sure it's ready to start. Okay, here's the condenser. Let's get this thing in. Okay, it's the next morning now, pretty early in the morning actually, and I have something to show you guys. If you come in here, pop this hood open, which now works. Come on over here. Check this out. Last night, my phone, after that footage of me putting the radiator in, or the condenser rather, my phone died. And so I plugged it in, and I did not feel like waiting for it to charge. I didn't have much left to do. Just put an alternator in. You guys, there's a whole video on that too. Put a couple of bolts in, put the belts on. Really not that much. So I dropped the fan clutch and fan and radiator shroud in there. And I put the upper radiator hose on. And the lower one's on there too. And I finished putting it together. Now, there's a couple things left. This hose here is the fuel line, and I lost the hose clamp, so I need that. And down here, we still got a full thing of oil that it's still leaking. So I think I need a crush washer, or maybe just take the impact and drill that bolt on there real tight, pour some oil in it, put some gas in it, put the fuel line on, and then we start it. Now, this is pretty crazy, actually. I'm in a little bit of disbelief on how, you know, like, I one day, I think it was two or 3 days ago, I had this impulsive kind of feeling, like I was working on the Cadillac, and I felt this doesn't feel right. I don't want to spend time on this before I finish this project, because it's in my nature to start a huge project and not finish it. But I did in this case. Well, I still don't know if it runs, and I really pray that it does. I think it should, honestly. There's not too much. I'm not gonna say that. I'm really not gonna. I don't want to jinx it. But we've got the distributor all wired up, correct cylinders, coil, everything. Coil is plugged in. Honestly, this is just about ready to fire up. I put some power steering fluid in it. I gotta put some transmission fluid in it. We're not leaking anything else. I haven't put coolant in it yet. I still gotta do that. So, guess what? We're pretty much done. I'm gonna tie up a little loose ends, like I told you. You don't need to watch me fix that oil thing. And then we're gonna start it, but not in this video. So, if you want to see this thing start, stay tuned. In the next day or two, there'll be a video out starting this, probably sooner rather than later, because I don't want to leave you guys hanging like that. But this was a very long video. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, you should win an award. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this project. This has been a very crazy project, actually, for me, and I'm very glad that it happened, and I'm glad I got to get it on video. And you know, I mean, I'm really hopeful that this thing runs. I think it will. Might not run perfectly because of the distributor timing or carburetor, whatever it is, but it should run. Now, it'll be extremely loud. That's worth mentioning. But anyway, I don't know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Please give this video a like. Honestly, I put so much work into this. If you dislike the video because I'm asking you to like it, hey, good for you. But I did put a lot of work into this video, like so much work. And this was pretty crazy. And keep in mind, I'm having to edit through hours and hours and hours of footage, probably 10 hours of footage. I had to get new SD cards. It was crazy, and like, still, the video's this long. I don't know how long it is. I don't know if it's 30 minutes. I don't know if it's 2 hours. I'm not sure. But either way, I really hope that you enjoyed this video and sat through it. But anyway, other than that, I am going to get out of here because I'm very eager to see if this starts. I got to get it fixed before, and I got to get oil in it and coolant in it. But anyway, I'll see you when we start this in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.